Hello guys, welcome to the channel. This will be the last session in carbohydrate metabolism. In this session we will see about HMP pathway, uronic acid pathway, fructose and galactose metabolism, and sorbitol pathway. And by this pathway we will be completing the whole of the carbohydrate metabolism. I will just try to complete everything in another 20 to 25 minutes maximum. Okay, let's just start then. So hexose monophosphate pathway. Hexose monophosphate pathway. I recently came across a question. It state Warburg Dickens Horaker cycle. Okay, I didn't have any idea regarding this name. So then I came when I read the solution, I came to know about that it is another name for HMP pathway. It is Warburg Dickens Horaker cycle. Okay, then coming to the hexose monophosphate pathway. So the two main peculiar characteristic features of this pathway is that it is ribose 5-phosphate is synthesized. Ribose 5-phosphate is in pentose sugar. It is synthesized only by this pathway. And also another one compound, NADPH. It forms the major source of the NADPH compound. NADPH synthesis also mainly occurs here, and but it is synthesized majorly here, but it can also be synthesized by other pathways also. So that are the two characteristic features here, and it is a minor oxidation pathway. And then coming to the ATP, and ATP bioenergetics of this pathway being that there is no ATP is produced here. That is the only one peculiar thing, very characteristic feature. Okay, and many questions I came across many questions around this point too. That's very important. And then phase 1 reaction and phase 2 reaction. Phase 1 is the oxidative phase where the NADPH is formed and is an irreversible. Okay, phase 1 is NADPH formed oxidative and it is irreversible, whereas in phase 2 it is a non-oxidative. Here the ribose 5-phosphate is formed and it is reversible. Remember, one look like I, so irreversible. 2, a ribose 5-phosphate is formed, RR, so reversible. Okay, it will be just confusing, so because of that reason only I have just highlighted this I. Done, right? Okay, phase 1 oxidative, just 3 points. Remember with me, phase 1 oxidative NADPH and reversible. Phase 2 is non-oxidative ribose 5-phosphate and reversible. Okay, coming to these sites, it mostly occurs in many sites in the body, but we due to the for solving questions, we need to know where it is not available. Okay, non-lactating mammary gland and skin, these are the two sites where these are the never the sites for HMP pathway. Okay, non-lactating mammary glands and skin, whereas where it occurs in liver, adipose tissue, lactating mammary gland. Remember, non-lactating never. Lactating mammary gland, adrenal cortex, gonads, placenta, RBCs. Here, these are the major sites for the HMP. And skeletal muscles, it show low HMP activity. Okay, so these are the sites regarding this HMP pathway. And another two peculiar things being that the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it comes as an intermediate and also as an end product. Similarly, it is one of the pathway where glucose 6-phosphate is present as a substrate and also as a product. Because of this reason, it is not a pathway. It is just as namesake is given as a pathway, but it is a cycle because we have the substrate as a product itself, and although one of the intermediate like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it also comes along in the product side. Okay, and I initially said that no ATP is produced. Okay, then we have to know about other pathways where no ATP is produced, and that pathways include in the RBCs we saw about the Rappaport lowering shunt and alpha oxidation and oxidation of very long chain fatty acids, arsenic acid poisoning we discussed it, and uronic acid pathway next we will be discussing. So 5. Okay, just remember 5. I'm just putting 5 for that reason. So the 5 pathways where the ATP is not produced is Rappaport lowering shunt, Rappaport lowering shunt in RBCs, alpha oxidation, oxidation of very long chain fatty acids, arsenic acid poisoning, HMP pathway, and the last one is uronic acid pathway. Okay, phase 1, phase 2 sites. Next, coming to that role, then what is the main okay, then I will just try to discuss a few important points regarding the HMP pathway. HMP pathway, so the main substrate as we discussed is the glucose 6-phosphate. So glucose 6-phosphate NADP is utilized and it is oxidized in presence of G6PD. Okay, it is the rate limiting enzyme. G6PD rate limiting enzyme, it forms 6-phosphogluconate and then it is dehydrogenated, and again another molecule of NADPH is produced in this reaction also, and it forms 3 keto 6 phosphogluconate. And this substrate's name or not all is not at all important, just remember the that rate limiting enzyme G6PD, and the first substrate we took is the G6 glucose 6 phosphate G6P. And just try to remember only one thing, the one decarboxylation reaction occurs here, and that results in the conversion of 3 keto 6 phosphogluconate to ribulose 5 phosphate. And this decarboxylation end marks the end of the oxidative phase, and no enzyme is required here. That is the important point here. 3 phos 3 that I will just sum it up. Glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase rate limiting enzyme, one NADPH is produced, 6 phosphogluconate is produced. From 6-phosphogluconate, dehydrogenase, another oxidation reaction, another NADPH is produced. It results in 3-keto 6-phosphogluconate. And this 3-keto 6-phosphogluconate undergoes spontaneous carboxylation. One CO2 is removed, 6-carbon compound is converted to the 5-carbon compound ribulose 5-phosphate. Oxidative phase is over. Next, coming to the this ribulose 5-phosphate is converted into ribose 5-phosphate. Okay, so this ribose 5-phosphate, the source, why it is needed? It is needed for mainly nucleotide synthesis. So it is isomerated to ribose 5-phosphate, and it undergoes many series of steps, and we get glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. This is more than enough for the to solve the questions. Okay. So this ribose or ribulose 5-phosphate we got, right, that is it undergoes various keto aldolases and ketolases enzyme activity. So this transketolase and transaldolase activity results in the production of serious rearrangement reaction with it produces glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and 2 molecules of glucose 6-phosphate. Okay, just remember that. And we have that substrate as 3, and substrate 3 glucose 6-phosphate plus 6 NADP gives 2 glucose 6-phosphate plus 1 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and 6 molecules of NADPH plus 6 molecules of CO2, and this CO2 is produced as in spontaneous decarboxylation reaction. Why it is called as a spontaneous decarboxylation? Yes, only CO2 is removed and no enzyme is being utilized here or is needed here, and the substrate being 3 keto 6 phosphogluconate, and the product being the ribulose 5-phosphate. Okay, this is the thing. And coming to the role, and that's it. I just cram it up. And next, coming to the role is an important clinical significance here, because HMP acts as a major source of, as we saw, that NADPH 6 molecules of NADPH in fact is produced, but relatively 1:2 ratio, 2 molecules of NADPH for every molecule of glucose 6-phosphate is being produced here. This NADPH is increases the amount of reduced glutathione. So why it is reduced glutathione is important, because it lyses, it destroys the H2O2. This H2O2, when present, it causes the lysis of the RBC cell membrane, which results in the hemolytic anemia, which occurs in the G6PD deficiency. Okay, so what is this glutathione basically? So glutathione is nothing but an amino acid. It's a combination of 3 amino acids combined with 2 peptide bonds. 3 amino acids, 2 peptide bonds. Okay, so glutamate, sulfur containing amino acid, cysteine, 1 glycine, first amino acid. Okay, these are the 3 amino acids present in the glutathione. And then okay, oxidase to glutathione. Okay, then I will just try to give the only one important point, which occurs in the RBC, that is needed to solve that equation related questions. Okay, so HMP NADPH undergoes glutathione in presence of glutathione reductase with FAD. Okay, in presence of FAD, vitamin B2 as the cofactor gives NADP. Okay, and this NADPH is then in this reaction reduced glutathione is produced. This reduced glutathione is converted into oxidase to glutathione in presence of glutathione peroxidase. This glutathione peroxidase needs selenium as its cofactor. So this glutathione peroxidase converts H2O2 to H2O. In that way, the RBC lysis can be prevented. In HMP pathway phase 2, the transketolase, I already mentioned, right, this ribose 5-phosphate so formed, it undergoes many transketolases and transaldolases reaction. which results in the formation of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and glucose 6-phosphate, right? Thus, transketolysis reaction requires many vitamin B1 and magnesium. So here you have to note that vitamin B1 is necessary for the trans. I'm just giving it in a different color. It is necessary for this thing transketolysis reaction, whereas the vitamin B2 is necessary for this NADPH, glutathione reductase. Okay, glutathione reductase. I will just give it in different here. These two are different. Okay, this is for one thing and this is for one more thing. So why it is needed? What can be made or like this information, how it can be made useful in a clinical point of view, is that it acts as a marker for vitamin B1 and B2 deficiency. For example, vitamin B1 deficiency, we know that it aids in transcutaneous activity. So reduce to transcutaneous activity, not quantity. Activity, not quantity. Activity. Okay, because the questions are asked as a quantity here. No, it's not never an quantity, only the activity. Reduce to transcutaneous activity shows deficiency of vitamin B1, whereas this reduced glutathione synthetase activity, sorry, maybe I'm sorry, RBC glutathione reductase activity, when it is reduced, it says vitamin B2 deficiency. And in order to test between vitamin B1 and B2 deficiency, serum sample is taken and enzyme activity is studied. When it is found low, the corresponding vitamin levels are assessed. Okay, and this, by this way, this whole thing is over. You can just have it as a checklist here, so that in case of last minute read, or maybe you're just going through the session where you have to complete a whole of the carbohydrate metabolism in less than 1 hour, means it will just come in handy by utilizing this list. Okay, next, coming to the uronic acid pathway. So what is, how it is similar? Okay, it is also a minor pathway for glucose, and also it also occurs in the cytoplasm. Main organ is the liver, and the starting material is the same as the glucose 6 phosphate. No ATP is produced. Okay, it here also no ATP is produced. Okay, it is the same, but the intermediate products are kind of different. So glucose 6 phosphate, so this glucose 6 phosphate is converted into activated form of glucose. It is the UDP glucose. So this UDP glucose undergoes oxidation at the C6 position, giving rise to the UDP glucuronic acid. Okay, so what is the uses of the UDP glucuronic acid? Separate question, repeatedly asked question. So UDP glucuronic acid. So UDP glucuronic acid, we know that it is used in the glucosaminoglycans synthesis, detoxification phase 2 reaction of the xenobiotics, and conjugation of bilirubin. So mainly it is a supporting system. How it supports, it supports physical support like GAG synthesis, and also by metabolic support by detoxification and conjugation of bilirubin in liver. So this UDP glucuronic acid, so formed, it undergoes reduction to form D-glucuronic acid. This D-glucuronic acid undergoes again reduction to form into L-gluconate form. So what is the importance of the L-gluconate form? Just try to follow. If not, it's not a big deal. So this L-gluconate form, in presence of L-gluconolactone oxidase, vitamin C is formed. Okay, it acts as a substrate for vitamin C, but never mind, this enzyme is not at all present in humans. So just have it as a theoretical point of view. L-gluconate produced from D-gluconate in presence of L-gluconolactone oxidase, which vitamin C, it gives to vitamin C form, and this enzyme is not present in humans. And this L-gluconate form, when CO2 is removed, it forms L-xylulose. Okay, from here only the main clinical point starts. This L-xylulose, in presence of xylulose reductase, it undergoes xylitol. Any sugar, any glucose, or maybe any sugar in presence of an reductase enzyme, it forms an alcohol. So here it is an xylitol. This xylitol undergoes again dehydrogenase reaction to form xylulose. Okay, and this xylulose is converted into xylose 5-phosphate, and this xylose 5-phosphate can be shuttled to HMP pathway. It also acts as a substrate for HMP pathway. Okay, so what is the clinical point I try to mention here is that the L-xylulose formed is converted into D-xylulose, right? That is, xylulose reductase enzyme is being used to that. Then D-xylitol is converted into D-xylulose by xylose dehydrogenase. This deficiency of xylulose reductase and xylitol dehydrogenase results in essential pentosuria. Okay, that was the point I tried to synthesize here. Many questions, or in fact every question from the glucuronic acid pathway comes only from here. You can say, even put it that way. I just try to have a pink color here. Whatever may be the questions, when it deals with uronic acid pathway, it has some of the clinical aspects under the essential pentosuriate. Just give some kind of clinical scenario. Most of the clinical scenarios are given under this topic only. And uses, like we know that in not in humans, vitamin C synthesis, glucuronic acid synthesis, and pentose synthesis. Okay, now you can just easily say the uses, like vitamin C synthesis is given, and pentose synthesis is, we know that, and glucuronic acid synthesis, I know that is support system. Okay, then what is the essential syntose area? I will just a few cram a few important pointers regarding essential pentose area. Inherited disorder accepted, deficiency of enzyme. What are the enzymes? Xylulose reductase and xylitol dehydrogenase. Okay, accepted. Because of this reason, L xylulose is accumulated. Okay, very much accepted. Excreted in urine. Okay, done. So monosaccharide reducing substance. Yes, xylulose is a monosaccharide and it is also a reducing substance. Benedict test comes positive. Yes, Benedict test will come positive as it is in reducing sugar, but glucose oxidase strip test is negative. Why? Because glucose oxidase strip test is very specific for glucose, and this compound is not glucose, so it comes negative. This is the only one differentiating feature. Just remember it very carefully. It's a benign condition but should not be differentiated from it should be differentiated from diabetes. And pentosuria, it can also occur in normal conditions when there is an excessive consumption of large amount of fruits. Okay, and it also form one of the components of the Garrett's tetrad. So Garrett tetrad is nothing but an combination of 4 diseases, where reserve this only one P for our essential pentosuria. That's it. And what are the CAA stands for? Cystinuria, alkaptonuria, albinism, and pentosuria, essential pentosuria. Cystinuria, albinism, alkaptonuria, essential pentosuria. So by this way we can complete. Only one important thing I have tried to say is this ATP. The ATP is very important. In HMP also no ATP is produced. Here also no ATP is produced. It is also a minor pathway. This product acts as a substrate for here. Starting material is the same, and UDP glucuronic acid uses we saw, the support system uses we saw, essential pentasuria we saw. And as for under essential pentasuria, you just remember about the glucose oxidase test, that result alone. And then coming to the galactose and fructose metabolism, just same. Galactose and fructose, same points. 3 enzymes, bioenergetics, defects. 3 enzymes, bioenergetics, and defects. I will just change the spelling here. Where did it go? It didn't change. Okay, we are good to go. Okay, so under galactose metabolism, so I'll just try to say a few +2 standard topics here. Um, Glucose major, galactose milk products, fructose fruit products. Most of the enzymes of glycolysis are used for glucose and fructose metabolism. 3 main enzymes are mainly responsible for shuttling this galactose to and fructose to the intermediates of the glycolysis, so that it can be shuttled to the glycolysis pathway and it can undergo glycolysis. Okay, so what are the 3 enzymes? First we consider about galactokinase. When ATP is utilized, galactose 1 phosphate is formed. This galactose 1 phosphate is converted into glucose 1 phosphate by galactose 1 phosphate uridyl transferase. It also need uridyl UDP glucose. This UDP glucose, on this reaction, it converts into UDP galactose. This UDP galactose is again converted into UDP glucose with action of an UDP galact4 epimerase. So these are the 3 enzymes. What are the 3 enzymes? Galactokinase, galacto-1 uridyl kinase, and UDP galactosyl 4 epimerase. Then the glucose 1 phosphate so formed is converted into glucose 6 phosphate by using mutase, and then it enters into the glycolysis. Remember, bioenergetics is same as that of the our this glycolysis, because only one enzyme is different here. Maybe 3 enzymes are different here, but ATP utilizing enzyme, like in our glycolysis, hexokinase utilizes one of the ATP, but here instead the galactokinase is utilizing. So same, one ATP is the same. So we just produce under aerobic condition totally 7 glycolysis are produced. Galactose on complete breakdown gives 32 ATP. Okay, so this is the thing I try to stress here. This thing done. And coming to the defects, one important enzyme galactokinase is being deficient here. It produces minor type galactosemia. When GALT enzyme, galactosyl 1 phosphoryl uridyl transferase is deficient, produces major type. These are the minor and major type. In both these, the amount of galactose is increased. So when sugar is increased, it undergoes aldose reduction. It forms the galactitol, alcohol form of the sugar is formed. It results in the formation of an oil drop cataract. So the characteristic features between that, in minor type galactosemia only this thing is oil drop cataract is seen, but whereas in case of major type excess accumulation of in the liver causing jaundice, vomiting, hepatomegaly, brain mental retardation, E. coli sepsis, and oil drop cataract due to the inhibition of galactokinase by product inhibition. Okay, not a direct but a by way of product inhibition. So galactosemia, in case if the baby didn't that the jaundice in the physiological jaundice didn't settle, we can suspect galactosemia. And in developed countries actually it is being performed, the galactose metabolism enzyme assay is being performed to detect galactosemia. In developing countries, when the physiological jaundice is in settling, we can have the we can screen the newborn for the presence of galactose metabolic disorders. So because it is to be tested and it is being mandatory, because mental retardation is one of the preventable causes of mental retardation. And then coming to the diagnosis, same, it's just one and only same, but the Benedict is going to be positive because it is reading sugar, and the glucose oxidase test is going to be negative because the sugar present is not in glucose. That's it. Treatment is avoid milk and milk products. Because it is a newborn, mothers used to take more care because the baby already has jaundice. Maybe mother try to take more care by giving more milk, but it is usually not should not be completely contraindicated from using. Next, coming to the fructose metabolism 3, so it occurs mainly in the liver. Okay, three enzymes. Sucrose, when a question, when it involves sucrose also, they are mentioning fructose because sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose. Okay, so just have that in your mind because sucrose is being asked in the questions too. Fructose, what is the fructose? The fructose, similarly like galactokinase here, fructokinase, first enzyme, ATP is utilized, fructose 1-phosphate is formed. Fructose 1-phosphate 2 fates in presence of aldolase B in liver, DHAP and glyceraldehyde is formed. In any other tissues, galactose 1-phosphate, galactose aldolase A, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and DHAP is formed. Another one, ATP. Okay, ATP, another one ATP is used and it enters into the glycolysis, same bioenergetics only. So three main enzymes involved here are fructokinase, aldolase, kinases. Okay, fructokinase, aldolase and kinase. 2 ATP is being used, same bioenergetics. 7 ATP produced under aerobic, 32 under complete breakdown. Okay, another one important point being that fructose is the most rapidly metabolized monosaccharide. Very our grandfather level important question, because phosphofructokinase step is skipped here. Okay, when the product enters into the glycolysis, you know that for PFK step, phosphofructokinase is being the rate limiting enzyme, which because it is time consuming and also it is being bypassed, as a result of which there is a rapid formation of acetyl CoA which is rapidly converted into fats. That is why fructose is also most lipogenic. So this is the reason why any person trying to reduce weight doesn't depend on should not depend on much of fruit sugar for their weight loss mechanisms. And here also the same, the fructose 6-phosphate fructose in fructokinase deficiency, increased fructose is formed. This fructose shuttled to the minor pathway hexokinase fructose 6-phosphate and it enters into the glycolysis. Minor thing, major thing, it is excreted in the urine. Because of that reason we have essential fructosuria, but actually it is fructosuria, not fructosemia. Okay, that is an important thing. I will highlight this only. Okay, fructosuria here. And then next thing being that it just appears as an accidental test. When Benedict test becomes positive but the glucose shows negative, we can suspect this excessive fructose accumulation benign condition, as most of the excess fructose is lost in the urine. But when it becomes in liver, okay, in hereditary fructose intolerance, what is happening here? It means that this fructose is converted into fructose 1-phosphate. Okay, happily it is converted, but the aldolase enzyme which is breaking down fructose 1-phosphate into DHAP and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, I said right, it is being inhibited here, or maybe it is found deficiency. So because of that, fructose ingestion causes more and more fructose 1-phosphate formation, which will accumulate hepatomegaly, hypoglycemia, jaundice. Hypoglycemia occurs because of the product inhibition, and it inhibits gluconeogenesis. Okay, gluconeogenesis. Diagnosis: when urine sugar test shows negative, same negative, but Benedict test positive, avoid sugar, fructose, sorbitol in diet. If not treated, renal fever confirm. Fructose entry into cell, unlike glucose, it is insulin independent, whereas glucose is dependent. Okay, wow. That and fructose one transporter is there. It's a GLUT5 transporter. Okay, next coming to the last chota topic, it is the sorbitol pathway. Nothing. So very very simple. Any glucose in presence of an aldo reductase, it converts into the alcohol form. So glucose aldoreductase is orbital. This is the basic mechanism. This is orbital. It is then metabolized by is orbital dehydrogenase. But this orbital dehydrogenase mostly present in the sperm type cells and not present in various other cells. Because of this reason, it is this orbital level product is being deposited there itself. So as a result of which. In a diabetic patient, excess blood glucose enters the insulin insensitive tissues and leads to formation of sorbitol by aldolase reductase. But sorbitol dehydrogenase is absent in most of these cells, and sorbitol cannot be converted further to fructose. Hence, sorbitol accumulation occurs. Sorbitol is hygroscopic agent, and it will, because of that reason, it will absorb the water, resulting in the swelling, resulting in snowflake cataract. Similarly, accumulation of the galactitol. We discussed right in that galactose metabolism, so it leads to the oil drop cataract in galactosemia patients, and by this we can just wind up the total thing. And as said above, I just took around 25 to 26 minutes. Okay, Charlie just takes that, but uh, it's more than needed. Yeah, it's more than needed. Because this is not a first time read, right? So I think these are the important topics out there. Or maybe you can just have it as a checklist before going into the, or maybe closing the book, or maybe skipping the next chapter. I think more than 1 hour is essentially more than enough, or maybe more than sufficient for knowing the basics of the carbohydrate metabolism. So anyways, I will be just posting videos regularly from now on. Thank you guys. Okay, thank you. Good night.